But the next bit that was a bit passionate for me was building procurement and the way we procure buildings. So, and I say this, we don't think, well, I don't know, mate, I say the obvious or whatever, but if you think about it, most new buildings are prototypes, aren't they? It's often the first time that we're putting products and components together to work as one.
In that form.
Other
than resi.
Yeah, so if you do resi and you design, 6 house types and they build 280, well then, yeah, okay. Or equally, sometimes retail or industrial unit, you design 1, they build 8, sort of thing. But take all of that out of it. At new build, they're usually prototypes and you put them together. Yet we expect them to work perfectly from day one, and we procure them. We procure them in pretty much the same way we do desks or computers, don't we? So we all know that lowest overall cost rarely delivers building excellence. We all know that cost and quality, I don't think does, because we've all got our pre-prepared quality questions and we write all them and say that's brilliant, and then you get the job and then you're back to it's cost and a lot of that stuff goes to. So I don't think that's the answer either. But so we need to look at ways of establishing clear success factors at the outset of the projects, and then allowing for post-contract evaluations at the end to make sure that we've done that. So a further theme that which is quite personal to me that we're going to focus on through the year is to we are collaborating with other industry partners to try and drive better construction procurement. Now we've got some ideas. Hal and I have been batting this around for sort of years, but we think it needs to have proper building performance metrics and how to incorporate them effectively into our construction projects. We think there needs to be much greater emphasis on testing and commissioning and post-contract evaluations, and including carbon assessments from real construction data, consumption data.
What about the installation program that inevitably eats into the commissioning program?
Yeah, well, yeah, we need to be
protect
much more. Yeah, we do. Yeah, yeah, because you can't, if you don't spend the time on it, you're not going to have a properly commissioned building, and it's not going to work the way it was designed. Assuming it was designed right in the first place. Let's be honest. Yeah, assuming it didn't get value engineered to a point that we know. We all feel the same. Let's just deal with it. So we want to look at designer appointments to try and make building performance collaborative ownership of all parties to the contract, because it tends to be with architects for the building bits and the maybe the biodiversity bits and then everything over. Well, that's the M&E, but it's for the whole team, isn't it? Incidentally, going off a tangent, I think biodiversity is another one that my understanding is an even bigger problem for the world than net zero. The thing is, we can, if we're quick, we can do something with net zero. And my understanding, some of the biodiversity stuff is beyond the tipping point now. So there's an opportunity here to talk. I was at a conference with the CIBSE Construction Industry Council, and they had some landscapers there that were right passionate about it. It was, you've got to deal with biodiversity. So there's a willingness there for them to say, well, we've got to deal. So let's collaborate. And they'll have some stuff. And if we're saying we want proper building performance metrics, they'll be saying, well, we want proper biodiversity metrics as a result of, well, let's get them all on the table. Let's get them all. Let's we talk about building performance, but maybe it's development performance. How do we do a development that in harmony with our environment? Right.
I was fascinated to see a metric the other day. One of our committee members and region members, Adam Selvey, put something up, which was brise soleil, having all of these big winds, aerofoils on the front of a building. Well, what are trees? And if you pop a tree up in front of a building, then it sort of screens from the sun and it produces oxygen, and you know, in touch with the outdoors, and I hadn't given it much thought at the time, but it absolutely makes sense.
Only in the summer.
Well, and also the roots of the tree and foundations,
that's where the most of the shading you need, because that's where the overheating comes from, isn't it? But
low lines.
So yeah. And we think there needs to be, well, we don't think, we know, don't we, but a fundamental review of how value engineering is assessed. So it shouldn't just be about lowest first cost, it needs to also be about its impact, the impact of that change on building performance, on including whole life cost, whole carbon costs.
VE is not cost reduction.
Building safety and ongoing maintenance considerations, and until the whole industry gets that, we're always a little bit of a lone voice, aren't they? So, you know, the classic ones are the lighting, isn't it? So, well, we, you know, if you change the light fittings from, you know, this to that, then you'll save £35,000. Everyone goes, fantastic, let's bag that, and you know, the client's paying for the replacements inside. That, you know, as soon as it's out of defects, they're replacing things because they're falling apart. So we need to be. So what we're saying is we think there needs to be. I mean, there might be others. I've mentioned the landscapers. So there will be others. But we think that now's the time off the back of the cup, because how can you deliver a net zero carbon building standard if you don't follow it up with better procurement? Because if money is driving what you're doing, and people say, well, yeah, but if you get the performance of it right, if you specify the performance of it, then you can put it out to the market. But we know that's not, it doesn't work like that. So and we're chuffed to bits because we have got some. There are a number of the other professional institutions that have already signed up, so they're at a similar place and going, you're right, now's a good time to be doing it. All right.